This is the Tax Platform informing the nation on tax matters. I'm your usual host, Tumelo Ranau. This week we look at the basics. We are going to look at tax registration. That after setting up your company, whether you are an investor locally or investor coming from outside the country, what are the steps that you should take in terms of tax registration? So in terms of our act, income tax will be the first tax that you will register for. And when it comes to companies, there is no threshold for registration when it comes to income tax. So you find that when you commence business as a company, you are required to register within 21 days from the date of commencement of business. So you will register for the company for income tax within 21 days. And then if you are conducting business as an individual, and maybe you just have a trading name, same thing. After commencing business, you should register, but there's a threshold of 48,000. That if you go beyond 40,000, that's when you will be required to register. That is annually. The 40,000 Pula threshold is annual. And then apart from those, if you have employees or you are paying rent, you should also register for pay-as-you-earn and what you call other withholding taxes. So registering for pay-as-you-earn means you will be deducting tax from your employees' salaries. So that's why you will need to register for pay-as-you-earn, which will be paid monthly together with the returns on the 15th of every month. And then at the end of the tax year, you file the annual return for both pay-as-you-earn and other withholding taxes. So for other withholding taxes, if you are paying rent, for example, it should be a rent that is over 4,000. That is when you can start withholding and remitting to bears. And also if you are paying things like commission, or maybe you are paying withholding tax on management fees and the like. Then there is the issue of value-added tax. So for value-added tax, there are two thresholds. There is the 500,000 Pula, which is the optional one. If you've reached 500,000 Pula annual turnover, you can request to register. Or if you anticipate that you will reach that threshold, you request to register VAT. And the 1 million Pula threshold is mandatory. If you are anticipating that you will make sales that is over 1 million, then definitely you are required to register. And from an administrative point of view, VAT registration, they will require some form of proof, and this will be bank statements to see if indeed you are approaching the 1 million or you have already approached the 1 million. But businesses that are SPEDU, CESA and BITC approved, they have a special dispensation such that even though they have not exceeded the threshold yet, but because of their size or the anticipated operations that they will carry out, BITC, CESA and SPEDU will facilitate or write a letter to request for bears to register them for VAT, and you will not be required to produce any bank statements or any other requirements, because basically you would have been vetted by these organizations. So just by providing a letter, it will be enough, and you can be registered for VAT immediately when you commence operations, because they anticipate that you will clock over 1 million in your turnover. And if you fail to register for income tax or value-added tax, you will attract a penalty of 10,000 Pula once off. And also for any unpaid tax, you will attract interest and penalties. So this will apply mostly to VAT, where the penalties can go to over 200% if it is thought that you were negligible or you were avoiding to pay that tax on purpose. So after registering for all these taxes, it is always important to have a schedule of which return is due when. If it's withholding tax return, when is it due? If it's a value-added tax return, when it is due? If it's the income tax return, when is it due? So for income tax return, it's always due 4 months after the end of your financial year end or your tax year. And then when it comes to VAT, it's the 25th of every month, or 25th bi-monthly if you are filing bi-monthly, and then for other withholding taxes and pay-as-you-earn, it's on the 15th of every month. And it is also important that you should note that these returns, the income tax return, the VAT return, and SEPA return, and this withholding tax and other withholding tax returns, are independent from each other. So if you have filed one return, it should not be construed that you have filed for other returns. In the past, there has been confusion from other taxpayers, especially the SMMEs, that if they file their SEPA return, then they think automatically they are done with BRS, or if they filed a return at BRS, automatically they think that they are done with SEPA, while that is not the case on the ground. So it is very much important that the two are always separate and they are not the same. Hope that was insightful. Continue to follow us on your favorite podcast platforms, and remember, we are available on Spreaker, we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Samsung Podcast, Google Podcast,